Hello students, this video is to walk you through the World Studies final project. I'm going to start by sharing my screen with you to show you what it is that you will be doing for the spring final in World Studies. This is what your World Studies theme final project looks like. As you can see, it has multiple different levels. And if you want to get a quick way to go from each part, you've got a menu on the side here that you can click around to the different sections. There are a total of 5 parts to this final, and the different parts are due at different times. So please make sure that you consult your slate for the week to make sure that you know when each part needs to be completed. First of all, I'm going to start with the description of the assignment. The final for World Cities Studies is to design a didactic or teaching product to examine one particular theme that ties together the different time periods we have studied. First, you're going to need to ask yourself, what idea did I see occurring over and over again in the units we studied? Turn the answer to that question into your theme thesis. Next, you will collect evidence from our work over the course of this year to prove the connection between the 3 units. Finally, you'll create a product to teach others about what you've discovered. You're going to start by selecting your theme question. So, the first thing you want to do is identify those ideas that have come up more than once. We've organized these questions into 3 levels: level 1, level 2, and level 3. These different levels represent different levels of complexity of thinking. Level 1 are more concrete, level 3 are more abstract, and level 2 is in the middle. So, the first thing you want to do is pick a question from this list for your project. But if you feel really confident about history, you could do the boss level. The boss level is the most challenging because you will select a single big idea from the year and craft your own thesis and your own focus question from that big idea. You'll have to select the appropriate units. And if you decide to do the boss level question, you're definitely going to want to share it with your teacher as soon as you finish writing it so that they can review it and make sure that it's okay. For everyone else, you want to pick one of these questions. And as you can see, they're pretty straightforward. For example, a level question, one question might be, how did technology change or impact the lives of people in each of the 3 units selected? So for whatever question you pick, you're going to trace it through 3 units from the year. Once you have your question chosen, you want to pick your units. And different units will lend themselves to different questions. So there's a lot of information about technology in the Industrial Revolution and World War I. And you can probably find additional examples of technology in imperialism and World War II. You would pick the 3 units that work the best for your thinking and your thesis. You can always choose the subunits, so you don't have to talk about the entire unit. You could just talk about, say, the technology of World War I and the new inventions that made war so deadly. You don't have to talk about everything in World War I. Once you've selected your 3 units and your focus question, you are going to write your thesis. There are some thesis examples here. If you wanted to see what that technology thesis might look like, this is an example. Technology improved efficiency in the Industrial Revolution, World War I, and World War II, but it did not always improve lives. You've got your main theme, technology, a clear claim that it improved efficiency, and 3 units, the Industrial Revolution, World War I, and World War II. You're going to write your thesis here. and you're going to let your teacher know as soon as it's done so that they can approve it and offer any comments or suggestions to help you move forward. There's also some thesis writing sentence frames here. Any of these will work. You can use them if you find them helpful or you want to just jumpstart your thinking, but you don't have to use them. You only need to use one because your thesis is just one statement. Once you have your thesis and your 3 units, it's time to collect some evidence. We do not want you to do additional research for this project. Our goal is for you to find the information in the work you've already done this year. So you want to go to Google Drive and your notes and assignments and handouts and essays and any work that you've done over the course of the year, as well as going to your textbooks or readings or Newsella and other resources that you've used. We put the textbooks here. These are the chapters from your textbook for each section so that you can find them easily. So once you find the evidence that you need to prove your thesis, you're going to start doing your pre-write. That's this box here. You're going to rewrite your theme so you have it to mind, include any context that I might need to understand your assertion and argument. You're going to include the specific evidence that you found, and that evidence could be a number of different things. It could be a quote from a primary or secondary source, an image, which is a different kind of primary source, a historical detail, a statistic, a specific piece of information. It doesn't have to only be a quote. Evidence can be any historical, specific, accurate piece of information from your research. Finally, you're going to tell me, how does that evidence prove your claim, your thesis? You're going to do that for each unit. You only need one piece of evidence. You can have more than one piece of evidence, but it doesn't actually get you more points in this assignment. So I would just do the work that we're asking, and that should be enough for you to be really successful. Once you have completed your pre-write, you're going to actually write out your argument. You're going to start with your thesis, provide context for your first unit, then introduce the evidence for your first unit and say how it proves your thesis. Do the same thing for your second unit and your third unit, and you're done. You don't need a conclusion. You don't need a hook. You just want it to be short, sweet, and to the point. There are some sentence frames here for you to use for each of these tasks: sentence frames for context, sentence frames for introducing evidence, and for explaining the relationship to the theme. Feel free to use any of those if you want to. Finally, the last part of this assignment is to take your work and turn it into a product that will teach us about what you discovered. And here you can go straight old school and create a slide deck and a lecture if you want to, or you can go more creative. You could try writing a dialogue poem or a rap battle. You could make a comic strip. You could create a debate between historical figures. You could create a children's book, a play or movie script, a video, a documentary, a web page, a prezi, song lyrics. Any of those things might be a good tool for teaching what you found out in terms of a theme that repeated itself in history. Once you create that product, you're going to share a link to it here so that your teacher can open the file and look at what you made. There are some examples over here. The first one is a slide deck on technological improvements and how they had a major effect on the lives of citizens in the French Revolution, the Industrial Revolution, and World War I. This is a pretty good example of how you might make a product out of, pretty good example of how you might make a product out of a slide deck. Also, There is an example of a web page, but I will warn you that this web page example is very extensive. It's for a slightly different project where students needed to include 3 pieces of evidence. That isn't you, but it does show you how you could use a web page to complete this assignment. We've adjusted this lesson for the COVID-19 situation, and that's why these things are a little bit different. So feel free to check those out and be creative. And if you don't like anything you see here, but you have a better idea, contact your teacher and just ask them if your idea is okay before you start. Now, remember, your link has to be editable. Your teacher has to be able to open it. If they click on this link and it says they don't have permission to look at the file, they're not going to be able to grade your final. And that will be a problem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, persons, students, and others, that was the explanation of what you need to do for your final for World Studies. Please make sure that if any questions come up for you, you will ask your teacher and ask them earlier rather than later so you have plenty of time to get this done. And don't forget to check your slate so you know when each thing has to be turned in and completed. Your teacher is going to be looking at your assignment periodically over the course of the next 2 weeks. So you want everything done on time. Take care. Have a great time. We can't wait to see what you've learned and what you discover. And we're really looking forward to those products. So have a good weekend and a good week, and we'll talk to you soon.